Hare Krishna. We'll just chant a little bit. Part of chanting the Maha Mantra. Okay. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sannavari Paschatya Desatarine. Namaste. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Sri Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Astoru Shishimat, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Astoru Shishimat, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Anantikoti Vaishnavrinda Ki. Naam Acharya Silaharidas Thakur Ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सरि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन नवदीप धाम की गंगामाय जमुनामाय की भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. Today we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, text number 39. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gambhira Vega Animisham Jyotisam Chakram Ahitam Yasmin Brahmati Kauravya Medyam Eva Gavam Gana Gambhiro Vego Animisham Jyotisam Chakram Ahitam Yasmin Brahmati Kauravya Medyam Eva Gavam Gana Gambhiro Vega Nimisham Jyotisam Chakramahitam Yasmin Brahmati Kauravya Medyam Eva Gavam Gana Gambhiro Vega Animisham Jyotisam Chakramahitam Yasmin Brahmati Kauravya Medyam Eva Gavam Gana Gambhira Vego Animisham Jyotisam Chakramahitam Yasmin Brahmati Kauravya Medyam Eva Gavam Gana Gambhira Vega Animisham Chakramaitam Yasmin Brahmati Kauravya Ram Gavam Ganaha Amisha Pratishtha Chakramaitam Yasmin Koti Kauravya We'll do the word for word. Gambhira Vega, with great force and speed. Animisham, unceasingly. Jyotisam, of luminaries. Chakram, spear. Ahitam, connected. Yasmin, around which. Brahmati, encircles. Kauravya, O Vidura. Medium, a central pole. Eva, as. Gavam, of bulls. Gana, a herd. Translation. Saint Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, descendant of Kuru, as a herd of bulls circumambulates a central pole on their right side, all the luminaries within the universal sky unceasingly circumambulate the abode of Dhruva Maharaj with great force and speed. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Each and every planet within the universe travels at a very high speed. From a statement in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that even the sun travels 16,000 miles in a second. My God. And from Brahma Samhita we understand from the sloka Yat Chakshur Esh Savita Sakala Grannam that the sun is considered to be the eye of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, and it also has a specific orbit within which it circles. Similarly, all other planets have their specific orbits, but together all of them encircle the pole star or Dhruva Loka, where Dhruva Maharaj is situated at the summit of the three worlds. We can only imagine how highly exalted the actual position of a devotee is. And certainly we cannot even conceive how exalted is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The verse again. Saint Maitreya continued, My dear Vidur, descendant of Kuru, as a herd of bulls circumambulates a central pole on their right side, all the luminaries within the universal sky unceasingly circumambulate the abode of Dhruva Maharaj with great force and speed. So we've been reading about Dhruva Maharaj over many months, and going to the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And here we come to a point, it's quite technical about the pole star, the planets and the orbits, and how they circambulating and encircling the pole star. And Dhruva Maharaja, this is Dhruva Maharaja's planet. So, who goes to these planets? What type of people go to these planets? When I was reading the Bhagavad Gita many years ago, I found that the 18th chapter was very interesting because it encompasses probably everything that you want. It summarizes everything in the Bhagavad Gita. And we are encouraged to give the knowledge of the Gita to others. There are many verses in the Bhagavad Gita towards the end of the 18th chapter, like 68, 69, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71. Those verses are dealing with giving this message. And in the Lord Krishna says that this message should not be given to those who are not austere, those who are not devoted, and those who are envious. And Prabhupada in his purport writes that those people who have not gone under austerities or a religious process, and he further elaborates on these points, and he says, and they have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, or have not even tended to a pure devotee, then they, we should not reveal this knowledge to them. That's what's mentioned. Because it's very confidential knowledge also, and it should not be revealed to them. But then he goes on to explain that those who give this supreme secret to devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, the result will be that he will go back to Krishna. And that's what we all are aspiring for. The Bhagavad Gita is generally discussed among devotees. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, for those people who are not devotees will not understand neither Krishna nor Bhagavad Gita, because they don't really accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he further elaborates that, Bhagavad Gita should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore it is a subject matter for devotees only and not for philosophical speculators. You'll find that some people, when they, and you find many people can't read Bhagavad Gita. They can't complete it. I hardly found, from all the classes we're doing here, I asked them the question, have you read Bhagavad Gita? And they would say here and there. Nobody has told me they really completed it. Who's like not a devotee, who's not practicing this. But the devotee, Prabhupada writes in a purport, I think it's probably 329, in the purport, he says the devotees are more, they're more compassionate. The devotees are compassionate, because he also says there, we should not preach to people who are bewildered by the modes of material nature. So, but still in the purport he writes, the devotee is very compassionate. He's more compassionate than Krishna. So he goes out and gives this message, undertaking all risk, even contrary to what the Gita is saying, what Lord Krishna is saying, because of his compassion. And then, in the 70th text of the Gita is explained, anybody who listens, without envy, becomes free from sinful reactions. And then he attains the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. So, there are also people who are not, they're not envious, they don't bear any malice to Krishna. They'll just come and hear the philosophy. But Prabhupada writes in the purport, and I'll read it. And sometimes devotees hold open class, because how else are we going to get them to take to spirituality? Generally, when I preach to people, I really don't get into a discussion of philosophy in the beginning. My strategy is that I use, just how are you, what work you do. You find out, general, things about the person. And, you could then see the need to really give this message, and at what level you give this message. So anyway, there are those type of people, who are not envious, and they listen with faith. So Prabhupada in the purport, and I'll read what he says in the purport. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become free from all sinful reactions. And after that, they attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attain the results of righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and become a devotee of the Lord. So then he goes on to explain, generally those who are free from sinful reaction, those who are righteous, very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word punya karmanam, that's the Sanskrit word in the verse itself, is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices, like the Asvamedha Yajna mentioned in the Vedic literature. Those who are righteous in performing devotional service, but who are not pure, can attain the planetary system of the pole star, or Dhruva Loka, where Dhruva is residing. It's quite interesting. He's a great devotee of the Lord, and he has a special planet. So if somebody is giving this message, in the line of parampara in a very pure way, then you can purify that person of his sinful activities, and he can attain the pole star. How's that sound? Very nice. You can go to the spiritual planet. In the upper planetary systems, and there is enjoyment can be achieved, or you can get enjoyment, material enjoyment far more. Sri Raghunath ki. You can get enjoyment far more than you would get in the lower planetary system. And now, like the topmost planets, planetary system consists of like Brahma Loka, and then you get Dhruva Loka. But this is also situated beyond Mahaloka. And the inhabitants of that planet, those planets, both Brahma Loka and Dhruva Loka, they are empowered with these achievements of the 8 mystic cities. Anima city, Lagima city, all these different cities. All these things. Anima, one can become small, he can come out to the keyhole. So it's a nice way. You don't have to lose your keys, you can just come out to the keyhole. It's a nice city to have for some of us who lose keys. So Kumari, don't. When you lose keys, you can come out to it. Yeah. And this is a type of perfection you can achieve if you in Dhruva Loka. And therefore, there's like interplanetary travel. There's so many cities you can have. You can control the elements, you can do so many different things. But, a devotee does not aspire for that. He doesn't aspire to go to Dhruva Loka. Actually, he doesn't. Like a person who's in ISKCON wouldn't want to go to Dhruva Loka. I don't think so. Unless you have a strong desire to just visit and on his way go back. But apart from that, he wouldn't. which we'll speak about later. Yeah. So these different perfections I attained. And, they could travel. There was interplanetary travel, and they can travel from the higher planets to the Earth planet. There's, just like, sometimes we want to go visiting, hey, let's see what's in Johannesburg. Let's go to the Stellenbosch or something like that. Well, let's go, see what's happening there. It's, to different places. So we like inquisitive. In the same way, these people in the higher planets, they could just for us it's such an effort to travel, and for them it's just so easy to travel. But a devotee doesn't aspire to have this material perfections. Is there the nectar of devotion, if those who studied the Bhakti Sastri course or nectar of devotion, and it's spoken of, and Giriraj Maharaj gave quite some amazing points on that, on these cities. Then, when I was reading this morning, I had to read this morning, as usual, but on a purport that we already done, but it's not, I'll read this purport. I found this interesting. The word Sahasrara refers to the personality of Godhead, known as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Although the Lord appeared as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he has been described here as Sahasrara Vishnu because he is non-different from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Bhagavatam Rita, the personality of God that appeared at that time was the incarnation known as Prishni Garbha. He created the planet known as Dhruva Loka for the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. So this was specifically, the planet in fact existed, and Dhruva it existed. Anything spiritual is eternal, so it must be existing, logically, right? It's not created or annihilated. So this planet, Dhruva Maharaj's planet, after the dissolution, like we have, the day of Brahma, the night of Brahma, there's a partial annihilations. And then when Brahma's life is finished, this complete dissolution, still the pole star remains. It's not destroyed because it is a spiritual planet. And they're talking, what is mentioned about they move in their orbit and they move around the pole star. Circumambulation. So, and the circumambulation is always done from the right side. The other side, from the left side, will be inauspicious. From the right side. You see, sometimes people try to circumambulate this way, and so it's done like that. Because the planet, Dhruva Maharaj's planet existed prior to creation, but it did not have a predominating deity. It didn't have a predominant deity. So, Dhruva Maharaj wanted something that was like the best of all planets. Although it was a childish prayer, the Lord reciprocated with him. The reciprocation was there and he got that planet. So, but we don't desire like that. We can learn from this, we shouldn't desire a planet like that. We should desire to go back to the spiritual world, and Dhruva Loka is also spiritual, but we should desire to go back to Goloka Vrindavan. How many of you like to go to Dhruva Loka and stay, or you like to go to Goloka Vrindavan? All of you like to go to Goloka? Everybody, right? So everybody wants to go to Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah. So, but then we may have this understanding that this is a lesser planet, Dhruva Loka, because in your mind you're thinking that I really want to go to Goloka Vrindavan, and Dhruva Loka is a Vaikuntha planet, but it's lesser. You have this understanding that maybe, it may be, because it's in the material world, it may be not be so spiritual. Isn't it? So you're thinking like that. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur corrects it. He says, and I picked it up this morning, he said, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection that Dhruva Loka is one of the lokas like Svetadvip, Mathura and Dwarka. They are all eternal places in the kingdom of God, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita, Tat Dhamma Paramam. So don't think like that. Because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur knew that we're going to think like that, so he corrected it. So then, in different texts of the 4th chapter, I also found this to be interesting. The personality of Godhead continued, my dear Dhruva, after your material life in this body, you will go to my planet, which is always offered obeisances by the residents of all the planetary system. It is situated above the planets of the 7 rishis, and having gone there, you'll never come back again to this material world. So don't come back. Even Brahma was not allowed to enter into Dhruva Loka. That's quite an interesting point. There in the 4th canto, in the 9th chapter, this is described. Wherever there is a crisis, whenever there's a crisis within this universe, the demigods go to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shiro Dakshaya Vishnu. Correct? He was doing Krishna book like, yeah. And they stand on the beach of the milk ocean. So therefore, Dhruva Maharaj's demand a position more exalted than even his great-grandfather Brahma was offered to him. So he got something greater. And Brahma couldn't enter even in this planet. So you can see that exalted position of Dhruva Maharaj. But when Maharaj was speaking yesterday, he was talking about that determination. And the determination, how does the determination comes? Can you say? How do you become determined? Yes, Gopali. Yeah, what's the word of enthusiasm? What it means? Whatever. Religious fervor or something like that. Yeah, enthusiasm. You must be enthusiastic. Just dance for Krishna, even if nobody else is dancing. Just dance for Krishna. Why, there was in Vrindavan, there was, on Prabhupada's disappearance day, they played a recording, and don't dance alone, dance with Krishna. Dance with Krishna. Yeah, that struck me, So devotee is always determined. And Dhruva Maharaj was determined, so therefore he could. But that determination comes, when that enthusiasm actually comes when one follows that 4 principles. When he's following those 4 principles, then he gets that enthusiasm, that determination. Otherwise, you won't get it. If you don't follow the 4, if you break one of those principles, probably the biggest principle from the 4, if you break it, you won't have that determination. And the determination to go back to God, sometimes we even forget we want to go back to God, isn't it? Because we're so absorbed in our service. 24/7 from the time we get up, we should be absorbed in devotional service. So that determination, and then he was, he had the opportunity, he had his mother, and you can thank his stepmother and you can thank his mother, both, both people. But to one, he had a revengeful attitude, he had. Dhruva Maharaj, he was revenge, he wanted to seek some revenge from his stepmother. But in a purport, Prabhupada says, in this verse, Maitreya replied to Vidura that Dhruva Maharaj, influenced by a revengeful attitude towards insulting his stepmother, did not think of mukti, nor did he know what mukti was. Therefore, he failed to aim for mukti as his goal of life. So it was like a blessing. He didn't know what this was. So he didn't, worry about liberation. He's just like a pure devotee. He doesn't worry about liberation. But we're concerned about liberation, right? I mean, going back to Godhead. But a pure devotee, he doesn't demand anything from Krishna. Even if we're going to the challenges, we read every day this verses, Sisastikam verses. What's the last one? Even if you give me a rough embrace, even the conditions are not so good, but he's still surrendered to Krishna. That's a pure devotee. He's tolerant. But don't try to create situations where you make the other person tolerant. By giving him a hard time. That you mustn't do. Don't do that. Yeah. Although Dhruva Maharaj, ruled this world for 36,000 years and then goes to Dhruva Loka. Does anybody have any questions so far? We're speaking on the subject matter. Yes, what's the question there? Because we don't have that no, I'm using that battery. So it's there. I don't think so that'll work. Why can't you put a battery? Oh. Huh? I'm using that battery. Yeah. Yeah.
But in now's time, present time, is it the same as the southern star that we see is very visible at night? Is that the same?
That's what I heard. But I've not read it. You've read it?
I just want some.
Yeah, I heard it. But that's why I didn't say it, because I just heard it. Because I always say what's in the Shastra. You also heard that?
Yeah, and in the evening you can see it at night. It's very outstanding. Although you see stars, but this one is very outstanding. It's
okay, I'll check.
Lower in the sky also.
That's a good point. I never thought about it so much but I heard that. But yeah, in the end, if there's one point that could allude to that. We'll talk about, thank you for that. I will check it out. Okay. Dhruva Maharaj went on a special airplane that was all discussed, and how he goes back home, back to Godhead. In the 5th canto, there's a few places where a few verses which we read before. I read before, and I remembered, looking into those verses before I come here. In the 17th chapter, text 1, where Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear King, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vamandev in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. Then he extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. Though the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean, entered this universe as the Ganges river. Having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which were covered with reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. Yet its waters remain ever pure, because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of the Lord before descending within this universe. She is known as Vishnupadi. Later she received the names like Jahnavi and Bhagirathi. After 1,000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended on Dhruvaloka, the topmost planet in the universe. Therefore all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnupadi, situated on Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. This is quite interesting, that the Ganges water is coming down. It's also comes through the pole star, Dhruvaloka. And the Ganges water is pure. Like once I was, we were crossing the Ganges. I don't know whether we crossed through, but anyway, we were at the Ganges, and we could see a burnt body, half-burnt body flowing, and a dog is going to grab that body. Will you drink the water? You'll think twice. But I remembered what I read in the scripture. I just took the water and I just drank it and I carried on. Because it's pure. So in that way, we may not have so much faith in the Shastra also, in the scripture, that it's pure. It's never contaminated. You know, like I think once Prabhupada wanted some water and some devotees were bringing some normal water to him, you know, ordinary water. But you know, he didn't want that. So a devotee jumped into the Ganges and collected the water and gave it to him. It's pure. So yeah. Okay, there's so much to say on these things, but let me just skip. I thought I'll battle to speak on this topic, but there's so much to say now. Reading a purport from the 5th canto. The devotees, however, desire to take part in the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. In the upper planetary system, the topmost planet is Dhruvaloka, and beneath Dhruvaloka are the 7 planets occupied by great sages, beginning with Maharishi, Vasishtha and Atri. All these sages regard devotional service as the highest perfection of life. Therefore, they all carry the holy water of the Ganges on their head. This verse proves that for one who has achieved the platform of pure devotional service, nothing else is important, even so-called liberation. Srila Sridhar Goswami states that only achieving pure devotional service of the Lord can one give up all other engagements as insignificant. So yes, a devotee, he just engaged in devotional service, not wanting anything in return, and being deeply absorbed, you know, with, as Gopali was saying, with enthusiasm, and that's key. But don't be over enthusiastic, you know, overly enthusiastic, like you want to do everything, you know. That's like, after a while, you'll burn out, you know. But you have to take on responsibilities according to your capacity. You know, but we must be able to do the needful at any time. I saw Madhurya coming this way to see me in the morning. I knew, I just wanted to know which verse it was, yeah. You know, yeah, but we should, yeah. And you know, there's descriptions about Dhruvaloka. It's situated above Saturn. There's descriptions in the scriptures, and in the 5th canto there's quite a bit of information. Even in the 6th canto some things are mentioned. And the sages, they're always thinking of the well-being of the inhabitants of the universe. circumambulating the supreme abode of Lord Vishnu known as Dhruva Loka, the pole star. So they be circumambulating, yes. And then, in the purport, I do not desire to be promoted to the higher planetary system, even to Dhruva Loka or Brahma Loka, nor do I desire an unconquerable position within this material world. I have no need for such things. So we should be like that. We shouldn't worry about, although we hear the philosophy, it frees us from our sinful reaction and make us righteous. But still our goal, we mustn't forget our goal. And then in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a lovely verse which takes us into that, talks about that goal. It says, a person fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, devotional service of the Supreme Lord Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches? So the devotee, he doesn't want, and this is Vritrasura. And Vritrasura is a great devotee. He said, I do not want the facilities of happiness of Brahma Loka and Dhruva Loka. What to speak of earth and the lower planets. I simply want to return back to Godhead. And so this is the determination. This is Prabhupada writes, this is the determination of a pure devotee. A pure devotee is not attracted to, the exalted position in the material world. He simply wants to associate with Krishna. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain that he wants to associate with whom? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, the gopis, the cowherd boyfriends. This is what a devotee want to associate with these people. And he writes in the purport, any material happiness is like a water in a ditch, whereas a spiritual happiness eternally enjoyed in the spiritual world is like an ocean of nectar in which a devotee wants to swim. See, a devotee wants to swim deep. Devotees are swimming nowadays, so they want to swim deep into the ocean. And that reminds me, the question was raised to Prabhupada, sometimes a pure devotee is kind of disturbed with the situation in the material world. Something's going wrong, he's getting angry and gets upset and all that. But then Prabhupada says the consciousness of a pure devotee, he raised what the consciousness of a pure devotee is. I think it was Reviti Nandan Swami at that time. And what is the consciousness of a pure devotee? The consciousness of a pure devotee is like on the top there's waves and you can see those, waves. Sometimes it's like high tide and there's disturbances on the top. But as you get deep into the ocean, how is it? It's very still. It's very still. So the consciousness of a pure devotee is like that. Very peaceful, satisfied, like that. Yeah. So it's interesting that Dhruva Maharaj, when he went to Dhruva Loka or the pole star, he went in that same material body. The same material body. But for us, we have to give up this body, this material body, and we should work on giving up this material body. And as we serve the spiritual master, and as we engage more and follow the instruction of the spiritual master without any duplicitous behavior, and then we go on chanting the holy name of the Lord, then we can enter back that spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. And anybody can go to Vrindavan. Anybody who associates with devotees, who are deeply attached to Vrindavan, can go to Vrindavan, even if they are residents of Dhruva Loka or Vaikuntha. Well, Dhruva Loka is also Vaikuntha. Even if one is a resident of Vaikuntha, his eternal relationship is with Narayan, he can still go back. If he has the proper association, that strong desire then he can go back to Goloka Vrindavan. So his position can change. And that comes with, sincerely serving. Because when we look at, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Lord Chaitanya came to give that Krishna Prem of the residents of Vrindavan. So a devotee aspires to enter Goloka Vrindavan. And I thought I'll end up with something that we all go for weddings and we see people taking the 7 steps. And, I also did that at one point in my life, taking those steps. And the bride and groom take those steps. And Radha and Krishna, they also took those 7 steps according to the wedding ritual. But they traversed like the 7 planetary systems. So after taking these 7 steps, the bride and groom will attain happiness if they gaze on Dhruvaloka, the pole star. So it can be seen. The gaze on it could be what you were saying, pole star. These words the groom, Sri Krishna spoke. So Krishna is speaking, he said, do you see Dhruvaloka or not? So he's asking the bride, who's Radharani. Please say. So Radha's response to this question was wonderful. When Krishna asked, do you see Dhruvaloka? Radha did not look at the sky. Then she spoke words that were not untrue, because Dhruvaloka also means eternal person. Dhruvaloka, the word Dhruvaloka also means the eternal person. So Radharani considered that seeing Krishna, she had seen Dhruvaloka, the pole star. So thinking in this way, finally she said, I have indeed seen Dhruvaloka, the eternal person, Krishna. So devotee aspires to go like that to the spiritual world and be with Krishna. Radha and Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any comments or anything? That's working, yeah. Yeah. No battery, no
Hare
battery.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
The battery is there for you.
Oh, yeah, well, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so this question has been bugging me for days now while I was at home, right? I mean, I could read a book, probably would find an answer, right? But it's better in conversation. So the world constantly shows us images of happiness, right? In America, it's called the American dream, like American dream. So what does it consist of? Money, big house, car, a genetically impossible wife to have, all those things, right? So Krishna says give it all up just for him, right? So I'm thinking, right, would you say that it's fair for Krishna to just say give it all up, right? I mean, you have, right, Prabhu? Madhurya has, right? You have given it all up, right? Right?
Oh, we're working at it.
So my question is, would you guys say it's worth it? Like, don't you feel like maybe sometimes maybe you might want more, like maybe you feel like something is missing? I mean, yeah, devotional service and all that, but don't you feel like maybe you want more, like outside of this? Honestly speaking.
Myself, I'm practicing for a long time. And I was a householder. And somehow, I think Krishna read my heart for myself. You're asking about myself. And, my wife died when she was 30. Young. And I'm 64 years old now. So I've been celibate. practicing Krishna consciousness, the highest enjoyment in the material world is sex. That's what you're alluding to. No matter what it comes to, boils down to that. That is the highest enjoyment in the material world. Even, philosophers like Sigmund Freud and, these psychologists, and they come to this conclusion. But when you refrain from it, you become happy. But when you try to enjoy the opposite sex, you'll become unhappy because you become miserable. Because it's a few minutes pleasure, and then how do you feel? You can't even move. Do you know that? It's useless. But we are conditioned souls. We get attracted sometimes because we're conditioned. But as long as I'm not acting on it, that's good. Although I may look at somebody that's attractive, I may appreciate the person, but I'm not acting on it. You understand the point? So when you refrain from it, you become happy. But your idea is that if you engage in it and you want, you're hankering for it, and if you get it, you'll become happy. But do you really become happy? No. You don't become happy. So, where I was giving a talk, I don't know, some place, on Sunday. And I was telling there was one lady who gripped it. She reckoned it's quite interesting because we're refraining from the things that people are wanting, then you become happy. Like personally for myself, I don't go buy anything to eat. Did you see me buying anything to eat and things like that? I'm just trained like from childhood like that. I just don't go and get anything from the shop. Even if I see, consumer psychology don't work with me. You can't put the chocolate there right by the till, I'll take that and pay. No, I've never done that. But it must be coming from the past life also. Like money, you're not attached to money. Because that's what's, that helps you to enjoy get all the facilities. So when you refrain from these things, that makes you happy. Madhurya, you want to answer whether this answer was okay? Huh? Give it the mic.
Like for me personally, I find that everything that you do want and hanker for is in Krishna consciousness. But if you do ever get those desires that you feel like there's something missing, it's not because there's something wrong with the process. It's something within us that there's something wrong. Because we are desiring these temporary things because our desires are not aligned with Krishna's desires, we feel this missing link. But it's not because there's something missing in the process. It's because it's us. So, that's just what I wanted to add.
Yeah. When I took to Krishna consciousness, I was learning the verses in the Gita. I would just learn them, And one of the verses in the second chapter, text number 70, is, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires. Favorite verses. That enters like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being full, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who tries to satisfy such desires. And the purport, Prabhupada says, and I'll read the purport, it's a beautiful purport. Let me read it, right? Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water, but the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limits of its brink. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything, because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. A Krishna conscious man is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flows into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities and is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of a Krishna conscious man. One who has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present. Right? Because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic powers are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But a person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and they are in perfect peace. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. But you know, the enjoyment propensities, I mean, the tendency is there to enjoy the material world. But it may come in our mind, but we're not acting on it. We're refraining. We're not saying that, we are on that level where we don't have those desires. We have those, but we're just not acting on it. So that's why we remain pure in that sense. Although we may look, like yesterday I was giving the example. Higher taste. Yeah. Yeah. Kadama Maharaj will always speak on those things. The taste and higher taste and lower taste. Yeah. But you're always asking questions, and that's really good because you're like kind of clearing your doubts. And this thing is entering your heart already, and it's going to be, you'll finish everything up, So don't worry. You can have Lord Prashadam though. Which you do. I don't mind. That's why when I'm saving you, I just put like a lump of, Prashadam. Okay? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Wow.